Hello viewer, the Nameless Scholar here. I got a new microphone and I'm trying to get used to it. There might be some auditory problems, that's more because, I have horrible production value in general, and this is going to increase it the more I get used to it. Because, I never had that great production value anyways, it's just slightly better so my videos are less awful now. I want to talk to you about something I have been mentioning for the past month or two, and hinting at. That being 3D printing. 3D printing has been in the discourse for a while now. As far as 2019, from what I remember, some say that 3D printing will render Games Workshop obsolete, and some have called for 3D printing and to boycott any and all Games Workshop products in total due to GW's general business practices. So I'm not even talking about the femstoties. That is but a symptom of a greater issue, such as, favoritism, turning the tabletop into an e-sport, suing anyone who uses the word Space Marine, trying to copyright words like pauldron English, price hiking outdated models, trying to sell 16 plus products to children under 10, their brutal crackdown on fan animations, copyright abuse. If they could get away with it, they would probably crack down on the lore channels too. Mark my words, if they could get away with it, they would even crack down on Rule 34. Games Workshop also cracks down on 3D printers, and is explicitly against it and treat it as a threat to their profit margins. If you are one such person who goes full 3D printing, tell me, do you think you will be able to achieve anything with this? What do you think you are achieving with this? Do you think yourself to be righteous? Do you see it as a zero-sum game? That by not buying anything from Games Workshop, you are somehow in the clear and in the right because you rejected something you find morally wrong? But here's the thing you don't realize. The truth is,
the game was rigged from the start.
Have you ever considered that maybe you too are a problem? That not making a choice is also a choice, but not just a choice, but the worst choice you can make. The two options are 1. Shilling for Games Workshop, and 2. Only buying the things you like. But you, in all your self-righteousness, believe that you are being morally clean by merging those two things into one. The first one is self-explanatory, the second one is wrong because Games Workshop hates you. So, you think that by believing that both of them are wrong choices, and by not making a choice, you are in the clean morally. Even though what you are doing is just making the situation worse. Because the reason why the game is rigged from the start is that you are participating in Games Workshop's self-fulfilling prophecy. Let me explain to you why by talking about boycotting. Total Biscuit, rest in peace by the way, for a while was boycotting Sega. However, he threw in the towel because he realized two things. 1. Boycotts rarely work. For example, with the new Custodes models, do you really think that people are going to stop buying them? You know what's going to happen? Let me tell you. What's going to happen is that most people will disregard the female faces and put on helmets. This also happens to people who collect Space Marines, both Loyalist and Traitor. Then the higher-ups will go, oh, the new Custodes models are selling, so that means people want female Custodes. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, really. Speaking of Space Marines, when, not if, female Space Marines will finally become a thing, the same thing will happen. And no, I don't consider that head sprue upgrade to be true female Space Marines English. Here's why. They're more meant to be ambiguous, and it's Games Workshop using the boiling frog effect to condition people. They did this with Warhammer 40k 8th edition, when they essentially turned the game into Age of Sigmar in space, and as time went on, now we're at the tail end of 10th edition, and Warhammer 40k, both in game and in lore, has more or less fully became Age of Sigmar in space, but details. People will eschew the female heads and put on helmets. Again, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The game is rigged from the start. You might still say that But that's what makes boycott the morally right thing, but does it? Is not choosing one evil over the other actually morally good? Because what you fail to realize is that by boycotting everything in total, you are giving ground to those who hate you. This is why no matter which setting you escape to, they will keep following you, and they will ruin everything you love, because they know you are not just weak, but an apathetic coward who will not fight back, but only run away, and as I have stated before in my videos,
apathy is death.
This is why they already won. Games Workshop is just lagging behind culturally, and most people haven't realized it yet. 2. By only purchasing the things that you support, you are telling Games Workshop and other customers that this is what you support. By not acting, you are leaving a void just so you can feel righteous and fight windmills, even though again, boycotts rarely work. If you refuse to take action, if you refuse to take sides, you are no different, if not worse than those who hate you. Because at least they move. And they move knowing that you will do nothing. This is why you cannot play the passivity game. Because of this, people will still keep buying models, and Games Workshop will still earn a profit, no matter how much you boycott. Because here's the thing, right now, 3D printing might be cheaper than official Citadel miniatures, it's that getting your hands on a 3D printer is not only expensive, but hard to maintain. If you cannot afford to have your own, you have to go somewhere that does have a 3D printer. But oh wait, what does 3D printing usually use as material? Oh, that's right, resin. A material that is toxic to breathe in. And the models have to be perfectly sculpted or you get what are called resin traps, which Janowicz in his video that exposed Trench Crusade, well, both of them, while they were still dealing with SDL files, had a lot of models with resin traps. What they are simple. Sometimes liquid resin gets trapped in the holes within the model. These things are practically rogue mines and they can explode at any time, split open your model and release toxic liquid resin all over your table. When even Trench Crusade can get rid of those, do you think someone else won't miss any of those set traps? Now, let's say, hypothetically, for the sake of the argument, that I am wrong, that boycotts actually work most of the time, and that being hardened in apathy is actually morally virtuous. Then I want to ask you a question. Even then, do you think this will stop Games Workshop? Do you think they will revert back female custodies and the Terminus Decree? Do you think this is going to lead to them to not make female Space Marines canon, or to them to delete Age of Sigmar? If you have forgotten, Games Workshop in the beginning sold white metal models, some being plastic. However, they switched to what is called fine cast, quote-unquote, which was resin. GW did this to cut cost in production. Don't you think that Games Workshop could buy 3D printers and use them to not only vastly cheapen their production and be able to gain much more profit? If Games Workshop really wanted, they could have turned 3D printing to become extremely profitable for them. But instead, they treat 3D printing like the bane of their existence. But they aren't. They don't have to be. Some might argue that this is a combination of arrogance and pig-headedness. It is true to an extent, but it isn't the real reason. The reason why they aren't doing this is simple, and it is tied to the other self-fulfilling prophecy that Games Workshop is going by. Games Workshop does not want to be a quote premium miniatures company anymore. They want out of the tabletop industry. They want to become a media empire, and with Space Marine 2, they realize that chance is very much real and on the table. It is why they are cracking down on fan animations, because they want a total monopoly on the media that is related to their IPs, including the lore videos. If you take a look at the contents of Warhammer Plus, their battle reports are very forced and banal, and the lore part is glorified advertisement for their only their new miniatures, not the setting itself. Granted, the lore has always been advertisement, it's that they cannot advertise to save their skin anymore. But with Space Marine 2 and how successful it was, they now have a chance, and they are tripling down on it with Dawn of War 4. So it's why they started using Titus so much. It's why he's now a central character, really. Hint, hint. By the time 3D printing becomes common, accessible, not a resin nightmare, and relatively cheap, Games Workshop will no longer need to worry about that anymore. By that point, they will be a media conglomerate. You, by going full-on 3D printing in order to boycott Games Workshop in total, you were a part of their self-fulfilling prophecy of, we don't want to bother with 3D printing, so we are now going to become a media empire to escape it and keep growing.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
GW played you like a damn fiddle, and thanks to you, alongside everyone who bought Space Marine 2, you allowed them to cross the Rubicon. They are not going back. Just because it is 40k, Dawn of War 4 will sell well, even though I believe it's just going to be another Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin situation. It's why Total War Warhammer 40k will sell well, even though it's a horrible idea. Once again, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. No matter how much you boycott, no matter how much you complain, Games Workshop is too big to fail. The ship has already sailed, and you're only fighting windmills. If a game is rigged, either break the game or play a different game. Unless you have like hundreds of thousands of pounds, you cannot break the game because being a shareholder of GW is like what? 60k pounds? So the only way is to play a different game. And it is to let go and work on your own setting. Well, anyways guys, this is going to be it for this video. I am the Nameless Scholar. And
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.